Shalom, welcome to my channel, The Hebrew Bible. This is Moses Gumadi, and in this video we'll come back to this topic again on the phrase Ehyeh asher Ehyeh in Hebrew, which occurs in Exodus chapter 3 verse 14. Let's just read this verse in Hebrew and then we'll get to the topic. Vayomer Elohim el Moshe Ehyeh asher Ehyeh. Vayomer ko tomar livnei Yisrael Ehyeh shalachani alechem. So, God is saying here that Ehyeh asher Ehyeh, which is translated in the King James Bible as I am that I am, is his name. So the question really is, what is the right translation of this phrase? Is it I am that I am, or is it I will be what I will be? There's a lot of confusion. I see a lot of people commenting on my previous video as well, saying Ehyeh asher Ehyeh is I am that I am, etc. And the Septuagint says that and all that stuff. And so I'm going to talk about all these topics in today's video. Okay, stay on. These four things I will be covering. How do English Bibles translate the phrase? How did Septuagint translate it? What does it mean? How does the Hebrew Tanach use the word Ehyeh? And finally, we look at the Hebrew grammar, tense and aspect and conjugation and all that stuff, beginning with the English Bibles. Okay, how do English Bibles translate the phrase? So here you have on the screenshot KJV, Young's Literal Translation, Darby's version, NIV, ESV, NLT. All of them saying I am that I am, or I am who I am. YLT says I am that which I am. Okay, so asher is a bit amplified there, but other than that I think they all say the same thing. But one thing you might notice is that some of these translations have this FN here. You see the footnote. If you click the footnote, they'll tell you that it means I will be what I will be. Okay, so the mainstream translation is really all of them say I am who I am. If you are interested, they'll tell you it actually means I will be what I will be. Let's look at 6 more English translations. CSB, NASB, LSB, Amplified Translation, NET, Revised Standard Version. All of them say the same thing. I am who I am, and I am has sent you. I am has sent you. I am has sent you. All of them have this footnote. You click the footnote, well, not all of them, most of them, 4 of them here. A couple of these don't have it, but if you click that, they will tell you that in Hebrew it means I will be what I will be. So the question is then, why do they translate I am that I am? Okay, and the reason is Septuagint, LXX. What is Septuagint? Okay, we'll come to the point. So the question is, how did LXX or a Septuagint translate and what does it mean is the question we're going to get to. But what is a Septuagint? Septuagint is the old Greek translation, supposedly done somewhere around 250 BCE or maybe 300, 250 roughly you can say. But see, here is the thing. There is not a single Septuagint as the Septuagint. The Septuagint, the mainstream Septuagint that we have comes from the 4th century AD or 4th century Common Era. Now, contained within the Greek manuscripts of the Septuagint are contained within what is known as a Codex Vaticanus and Codex Alexandrinus, Codex Sinaiticus, etc. Those are like 4th century manuscripts, and there was a Septuagint in the past, which was basically translation of the 5 books of Moses. Later on, people started a lot of translations of other books too, and there were several versions, like just as we saw so many English versions. If I say all of these are all the English translations, if I call, say, English Tient or something Septuagint, let's say Septuagint, you calling all of these as Septuagint is ridiculous. So that's exactly what it is. There is no such a thing as the Septuagint. There were several versions and they are all Greek translations. That much we should know. Who translated it, where, what, all these questions we can address in some other video perhaps. But what did they translate? So here is the Greek translation of the Hebrew text below here. We have Ehyeh asher Ehyeh, shown as ego emi ho'on, and Ehyeh is shown as ho'on has sent me. You can clearly see it is not symmetrical as it is. I'll come to that point. But this is the Greek text, and here is the transliteration, meaning if you want to read the Greek text like kai epen ho theos pros mosen ego emi ho'on, kai epen hotos erestos hyoios Israel ho'on apestal ken me pros humas. Okay, I can't read Greek actually, hoyos, toyos, all these words, but probably not pronounced very well as I do Hebrew. So that's Israel. This is ho'on, ego emi ho'on. But the point then is, what does it mean in English? And I've taken the Brenton's translation, which is a standard translation of the LXX, as they call it. Septuagint meaning 70 or 72. L is 50 and X is 10. X is 10. 50 plus 10 plus 10 is 70. This is the Roman numeral for 70. So that's meaning 70 translators are supposed to have translated it. If you look at the meaning of ego emi ho'on or ego emi ho'on, it means I am the being. I am the being, and who has sent? The being has sent me to you. So let's break down this phrase, ego emi ho'on. I am the being. Or you could translate this as I am the one who is. I will tell you why it is like that. We're going to go word by word. So the first word, ego, is like I. It's a first person singular pronoun. Okay, so there is nothing great about it. It's just a I. I did it. I came. I did. Ego. So or ego. Emi is a first person singular present active indicative verb. What does it mean? It's a singular, meaning it's applied. It basically means am in English. It's the equivalent of am. Am, because am can become is. It can become was in the past tense. In the plural, it is are, are, and in the past plural, it is were, etc. So am, is, was, were, they're all the same forms of the verb to be. Similarly, the verb to be in the first person singular present active indicative verb is emi, which means am in Greek. So far we have I am. I am. The next word, which is basically a letter, it's pronounced as ho, not o, ho, as in H-O, but actually there's a omicron with a diacritic on the top. This is called a definite article. It's like the in English, masculine singular. Why masculine? Because it's attached to the subject here, ego, which means I, the person speaking, is the masculine person. Therefore, the refers to that, or probably the also could refer to this one here, on, which is masculine. Okay. So the last one then is a present active participle of the previous word, the earlier word, emi, means am. If you want to make the verb am into a participle, and what is a participle? Participle means if you take any verb, let's say run. Running is participle. Eat. Eating is participle. Crying, walking, talking, all these ing ending verbs are participles, meaning the verb or the action is going on a continual basis, right? So what is the root verb we're talking about? The root verb is to be. To be in the first person singular present active is am in English, emi in Greek, and if you make it as a participle, then it is on. On is the word here, and so the totally ego emi ho on, which means I am. So am is this emi. The is ho. On means existing or being. I am the being. What do you mean by being? Being. They're using the translator used being as in like running, eating, walking, etc. These participles sometimes can behave like adjectives, or they can behave like nouns, called gerund, I think, in grammar. I'm not very good at English grammar, but the word being, although it is a participle, verb participle, it can sound like a noun, or some person is called a being, right? B-E-I-N-G. So that's what it means. You could use the word existing as well, or I am the easing person, meaning is/ing. I'm just making up that word so that you'll understand. So I am the being, I am the one who is, I am the existing one, etc. That's the meaning. Meaning, hey, I'm there. Hey, I'm there always. That's the meaning. That's the meaning of Greek. It's not talking about any dynamics. It's only telling you static, continuous existence in being. I'm there all the way through. I am there. Right? So that's what it means. I am the existing one. I always exist. No problem at all. I mean, this of course is true with reference to God. God does exist always. There's no doubt whatsoever. But is this the meaning of the Hebrew phrase Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh? That's the question. And so let's ask this question. How does the Hebrew Tanach use the word Ehyeh? So before that, let me just go back. Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh has 3 words, out of which the first and the last word are just the same. Ehyeh, Asher, Ehyeh. Well, how come here we have ego, Amy, ego? We don't have ego, Amy, ego. Or we don't have ho-on, Amy, ho-on. There is no symmetry around the center. Do you see that? Right? If you go back to the Greek translation that we saw earlier, I am that I am has sent me, is the translation in English in the King James Bible from Hebrew. Ego, Emi, ho-on, and then here, ho-on, that is the existing one or the being, has sent me. So here the ho-on is supposedly, it means Ehyeh, but if that's what Ehyeh means, how come you don't have this ho-on here? Maybe grammatically not feasible in Greek. So this translation is not literally word-to-word translation, as you can see clearly. So first thing what we have established here now is, irrespective of what the translation is, this phrase ego eimi ho-on is not symmetric, and it is not a literal translation of the Hebrew text Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh. Okay, so let's come to that much one has to accept. Where is Ehyeh? Is this one Ehyeh? That one Ehyeh? Which one is Ehyeh out of the 4? So what does Ehyeh mean in Hebrew? Right in the context of the book of Exodus chapter 3 verse 14 is what we're looking at. But if you go a couple of verses earlier, there we read, Vayomer ki Ehyeh imach veze lecha ha'ot ki anochi shalachticha. Okay, so this will be the sign, a token that, I have sent you. So, Vayomer ki Ehyeh imach means I will be with thee. Ehyeh means I will be with thee. Imach is with thee. Okay. So, clearly, this is in the future tense, like Ehyeh is I will be. Because God was not with Moses before, was he? Before, when Moses, he was not with him in the sense he will be with him when he sends him from Sinai, or from wherever, so from Sinai, wherever he met God in the burning bush, and went to Egypt. From this point on, God was with him in a different way. He was certainly not with Moses in that sense when he was in Egypt, when he was in the wilderness running away from Pharaoh, or when he married, when he was living with the father-in-law Jethro and all that. No, he wasn't. At that point, he said, I will be with thee. So clearly, Ehyeh was a future, right? So I will be. It's not that I am. Even if he says, I am with thee, it has a beginning, because previously he was not with him. Now let's see some more uses. In fact, not only God uses this phrase, Ehyeh. Judges, in the book of Judges, we see here that Jephthah, right? Yiftach is the word, Jephthah, says that if you bring me home against, well, if I fight the children of Ammon and the Lord delivers me before you, I will be your head. Anochi Ehyeh lachem lerosh. I will be your head. That means your leader. Ehyeh, I will be. Some translations has a question mark, irrespective of the question mark. Like they will say, shall I be your head or something like that. But in either case, right, so there's no question mark here in the Hebrew. There's no word for questions called as a hey prefix for the questions here. We don't have it. And so you could actually translate it literally as I will be your head. Anochi Ehyeh lachem lerosh. So Ehyeh means I will be. So obviously Jephthah wasn't a head of the children of Israel or this group of people at that time. He will be in the future if he fights and gets victory. The Lord delivers them into his hand. So it's clearly future. That's Ehyeh. Here is another case in 1 Samuel chapter 18 verse 18. Ki Ehyeh chatan lemelech. So David is saying to Saul, who am I that I should be a son-in-law to the king? Ki Ehyeh chatan lamelech. That I should be. That's I should be is the word, right? Ehyeh. That's again in the future. I should. It's not I am. It's not I am. I mean, it's very clear. Anybody tells you Ehyeh means I am, they're saying it wrong. It's very, very clear. I will be with thee. Anochi Ehyeh lachem lerosh. I will be your head. Ki Ehyeh chatan lamelech. I will be, or that I should be the son-in-law. Right? It doesn't matter 2000 250 BC or 1500 BC, somebody translated into Ethiopic or Greek or Sanskrit. It doesn't really matter. Okay? What matters is, what does this word mean? How is it used elsewhere? It is in the future tense very clearly. It doesn't mean I am. It means I will be. Let's look at another example. The Lord himself speaks to David about the son of David. Okay, I'm going to make your son a king, etc. I'll make a covenant with you and extend the covenant to your seed. And he says, Ani Ehyeh lo le'av vehu yihyeh li leben. Or leven. Ben is a ben, basically, right? I will be his father. I will be to him a father, and he shall be to me a son. That's the literal translation. Ani Ehyeh lo le'av. I will be to him for a father, and he shall be, that is Ehyeh. Ehyeh is I will be. Ehyeh is he will be. Okay? So this is clearly again future. So there is no question at all. Therefore, that in the book of Exodus chapter 3 verse 14, when God says, Vayomer Elohim el Moshe, to Moses he says, Ehyeh asher Ehyeh, it means I will be what I will be. Ehyeh shalachani alechem means I will be hath sent me to you. Period. There is no I am here. There is no I am. It doesn't matter who says that it is I am. It doesn't matter. I mean, 1,000 English translations say I am. They're all wrong. W-R-O-N-G, wrong. Okay, that's what it is. This means I will be what I will be. So let's come to Hebrew grammar. Every verb in Hebrew will have a conjugation, and it will be in a certain stem. There are 7 stems, main stems, but there are also other rare stems which I have not shown here. This chart you may have seen where I explain Hebrew verbs. There are a couple of videos. If you look at my channel, you'll see Hebrew verbs, the 2-part videos in which I clearly explain what these are. But if you take a Hebrew verb root, and then you can make up so many conjugations of the Hebrew verbs based on what conjugation it is, what stem it is, etc. There are 7 stems, main stems, and there are 11 Hebrew conjugations, out of which these 4 are main, you can say, and these 4 in fact can have, again, 10 forms each, depending upon whether it's a first person, second person, third person, whether it's a masculine, feminine, or whether it's singular, plural. Depending on this person, gender, number, you can come up with 10 different combinations for each conjugation and for each stem, and therefore you have this 10 times 7 times 7. 7 is the number of the stems, and 4 conjugations. You can actually get 280 verbal forms for a single root in Hebrew. Verb for verbs only verbs. Okay, that's how it works in Hebrew. In this case, this word Ehyeh is derived from the root Hey Yod He Haya Hey Yod He. This is in the Yiktol conjugation. It is in the Kal stem. Now, instead of Kal stem, okay, so that's this is called as Ehyeh is called imperfect verb. So Yiktol is basically imperfect verb. It means that the action is incomplete, meaning the action referenced by the verb is ongoing. It has not finished. It's going on. It's incomplete. That's what Yiktol means. But if it is a katal would be, it is a finished verb, meaning the verb is complete. So Hebrew works on aspect. I'm going to come to the aspect. Aspect is different from tense, which I will explain shortly. But basically, the way Hebrew verbs work is whether or not the verb is incomplete or the action is completed or incomplete. If it is a complete action, the same Ehyeh will become Haya. Haya. It's in the masculine, third person masculine singular. If you make it feminine, then it will be Hayata. Remember in Genesis chapter 1 verse 2, second verse, we read Veha'aretz Hayata Tohu Vavohu. So that Hayta or Hayta is in the feminine form. Here in this case, it is masculine Haya. Okay. So what is tense versus aspect? We have past tense, present tense, and future tense in English. Even today, even in Hebrew, modern Hebrew has a past, present, future. They have slightly modified the grammar to suit the modern situation. But biblical Hebrew doesn't work like this. Biblical Hebrew has only two. They are not called tenses. They're called aspects. The aspect is either it is complete or it is incomplete. When is not the question. It could be complete in the past, complete in the future, and all that. We'll talk about it. I'll show you what it is. Now, let's talk about the complete verbs, right? Like the complete or perfect verbs. Something could be completed in the past. Something could have been completed just now. You could also potentially talk about something that will be completed, but the will be is still a future. So, you need to end here. Oh, by the way, this is present. Present is ideally just a line, but I've shown it as a broad, box for the sake of clarity. I can't write a single line and write present on it. So, but consider the whole width of this box as a single instant. And therefore, you either completed it in the past, sometime in the past, or it just finished. Okay. Whereas, if it is an incomplete one, it could have begun in the past, but still ongoing and still incomplete right now. Or you just started it and it's still incomplete. Maybe you just started it in incomplete and it'll keep on going on into the future. Sometime in the future it may finish, but even in the future it will be incomplete for some time, let's say. And in the final case, that you haven't really started at all and the action will start sometime in the future and therefore still it is incomplete. So the incomplete verbs can span across past, present, and future. Okay? Whereas complete verbs, at the most, you can get it to the present. Some people may argue, well, you can talk about a completed action in the future. Yes, that's possible. But again, we're talking about the aspect versus tense. Okay, since we're talking about the aspect called Yiktol, or the conjugation called Yiktol, in which the word Ehyeh is, this is where we are. And what the problem with the Greek translation ego emi hoon is that it lacks the future element. Okay, you can say ego emi hoon since the on is a participle. It is an ongoing action. Yes, it is ongoing action in the present. but it doesn't tell you anything about its ongoing thing in the future. Well, even if it is ongoing, well, you may say, well, it could tell ongoing in this third one here. Well, it has been ongoing, it is ongoing right now, and in the future also it is ongoing. Fine, I can agree with these three boxes, but not the last one, because this word, this participle, does not describe what will begin in the future and continue in the future or end sometime later. A future action which begins in the future is not covered within the definition of on. And this is where Hebrew comes into picture. This is where Hebrew is required. So what's the point? The point is, well, I mean, if it is ongoing in the past, ongoing presently, ongoing in the future, well, is that not what the name of God means? Like Yahweh, Hashem, was, is, and shall be? Of course, yes. But was, is, and shall be indeed is the meaning of his name, but that's not it. That's not it. That's the essence of himself. That's essence. That's who he is essentially. But then he also acts in relation to his creation, and he acts within the creation. That is not captured by this Greek word on, about actions which are incomplete, which he has not been. So here is the point. Now let's read this again. Hashem not only was, is, and shall be, which we all agree, of course he was, is, and shall be, which describes his essence, but he can be what he had not been before. This is the future. I'm saying relational. How is this possible? Well, there you have it here in 2 Samuel 7:14. We saw this earlier. Ani Ehyeh lo le'avehu Yahweh li leven. This guy Solomon, to him God was not his father and he was not his son before Solomon was born, before the creation. Well, you can say in potential he may be, yeah, in potential, but not in actuality. The actual thing only happens in the future. Only, well, a future when he spoke it was still the future. That's the point. Right? Ani Ehyeh lo. So this bit, let's go back. He can be what he had not been. Was God ever a father of Solomon like from eternity? No. Was Solomon God's son from eternity? No. Ani Ehyeh lo la'av vehu Yahweh li leven. I will be his father, he shall be my son. God is promising that he will enter into a new relationship, relationship. He will enter into a state which he had not been before. That's the point. This can sound preposterous for many people, but it is indeed the fact. So that's what it is. We have to live with it. So the point is that we're not trying to say this is wrong. Of course this is right. This is his essence. Hashem not only was, is, and shall be, but he can be what he had not been as well. And therefore he says, Ehyeh asher Ehyeh. I will be whoever I will be. Here he will be Solomon's father. Okay, that's the meaning. Again, people may say, well, God doesn't change, he is static. So these are all Greek ideas. That's the problem with Greek. It's not a Hebrew idea. God doesn't change, yes, but not in the sense we think. So here we read, Ki ani Adonai lo sheniti. For I am Hashem, I change not. Therefore the sons of Jacob are not consumed. Yeah, but perfectly fine. Here the lo sheniti literally means there is no second. I'm not coming again. I'm not becoming a second of myself. Meaning I say one thing first and I say another thing later. So basically I change my character. That's the meaning. And in that sense, he is not going to change his character. So, but that is not what we're talking about. The fact that he can be what he had not been does not negate this. In fact, if you could translate this in a different way, you could say, Ki ani Adonai lo shaniti, means I am Hashem and there is no second to me. Means I am, this would be a statement of God's oneness, in fact. Because shaniti could be, shana means like it could, as in the second, or as in the, like there is no second person beside me. That's what it means. So why is this related to change? Because if there is another person with another character other than him, then it's like this. If, for example, if I come and say something and I promise you something, and then I come back and say a totally different thing later on, then it appears as though, hey, are you the same guy who spoke earlier? You said you will do X, now you're saying Y. That's the point. So he's saying that, hey, I am. If I say I am X and then I won't say come back and say I'm Y. I'm the same X that I have been before, right? Okay, that's the point. So in that way, there is only one person. So this actually is a problematic for the doctrine of multiple persons. Let us put it that way. Lo shaniti. But this doesn't violate this principle that he can be what he had not been, simply because, as I say, I gave you the example. This is not the only example. There are many other examples, but this is the best example. Ki ani Ehyeh lo le'av. I will be his father. He was never Solomon's father before from eternity. Clearly, no. So that brings us really to the conclusion that Ehyeh asher Ehyeh means I will be what I will be. So here we read the Lord's name, Ehyeh asher Ehyeh, not only describes being, like I am the being, or I am the existing one, or I am the one who is. All those statements are true. So the Greek captures the first bit correctly. Even Hebrew has this. That's not a problem. But Hebrew also extends the definition further to the becoming. So Hashem is not only being, but he also becomes. Becomes what? Becomes what he wants to become. Not you and I would like him to become. Not necessarily. Because, if he becomes, then he could be X and he could be Y. Well, no, not really. He will decide that, not you and I. Okay. That brings us to the end of this short, is it short really? That brings us to the end of this video. Please do like and comment below, subscribe to my channel, click the bell icon, and I'll see you again with another video as soon as I can. Thank you very much.